Cool. All right, guys. For everyone watching the recording, we are going to be talking about committing to abundance. This one's a little bit different. It's going to supplement, like I said, Ash's call from Monday. So back-to-back calls. That's fun, you know? It's the best. So let me put it in presentation mode. That's what's not lame. Cool. There we go. So committing to abundance and going beyond abundance. Now, I like reading off the screen because it just helps me memorize what I was thinking at the point. And I'm not like Ash where I can just bring it and tap into at that point. So what is going beyond? The act of going beyond means rising to a higher position in life. If we are to rise to a higher position in life, one needs to change first. You can drop it in the chat. Remember, I'm a slut for the chat. We want to use the chat like we used it with Ash. It's great. I enjoy it. So that way everyone kind of participates. It's a little different from Zoom, but same thing. One needs to change first if you're going to rise to a higher position. We don't know where the chat's at. It's here. Hi. Anthony said mindset. Okay, good. Habits first, I would guess. Good. Okay. Getting closer, a little warmer. What else? You need a strong foundation to go higher. Okay, it's good. I like that, Dan. It's good. Anyone else? How to optimize my health and time. Perfect. Okay, that's good. That's a good answer. I like that one too. Good answer so far. Any other ideas? Okay, I'll just give it to you. So the standards we hold for ourselves is a thing that needs to change first. So when we raise our own standards, the universe has no choice but to give you more of what you already are, right? The universe is inherently abundant. So we've talked on previous calls that the universe is infinitely abundant and gives you more of what you already are. Therefore, if you're scarce, you're anxious, you're fearful, pouring out of an empty cup, the universe will give you an abundance of all those things. You're going to feel more drained. You're going to feel more anxious. You're going to feel a shit ton of all these very exaggerated emotions. So people want a higher level of living, but shy away from the work needed to become a higher level human first. What does that mean? So let's get into it on the next slide. But my motto for this year, it's taken me a while to figure it out. I usually choose a word for the year, but this year I chose a phrase. So it's to whom much is given, much is required. And I'll go into it later. So it's going to come full circle, I promise. So hypocrisy. Okay. So we are the epitome of hypocrisy. Why? We hold other people's standards higher than our standards that we hold for ourselves. So if we comment in the chat, if you set standards for yourself and uphold them, is that self-love or is that self-hate? Should be a pretty... Use the chat. Oh, Marissa used the heart. that one's Marissa's awesome for the and Luke used the heart too. That's dope. You guys can use the emojis. See, Zoom doesn't have this. Hell yeah. Okay. So yes, it's self-love. Love is trust. Trust is integrity. And integrity controls your emotional state. Why? Because you give yourself enough trust to say and show up as you say you are. Reason. So why would we act against our highest selves, against our standards? Because our highest self, the versions that you guys envision to yourselves to be in the next couple years, months, is the actualization of truth and love. Love is probably one of the higher frequency emotions to feel and be and and to embody. That's what I meant. So the highest version of you loves all parts of themselves and is actualized in their version of their world, right? Imagine your highest self and the reality that they live in some parallel universe, right? They love everything about themselves and they are an actualization of love and truth because they are being authentic and they're upholding their standards. So the standards you uphold are a byproduct of the love you have for yourself, right? Making sense so far? Cool. If anyone has any questions, Remember to drop them in the chat. Someone asks, are the standards sustainable? Yes, standards are sustainable as long as you have boundaries. That's why we had the boundaries call last time, Emmanuel. I don't think you were on it, were you? So many people were on that call. It was a good call. I'll post it very soon. I think I posted it. Probably in the playlist. Anyway, so if we know that standards are needed for us to elevate in life, and we do the opposite, which makes us feel awful, that's the definition of self-hate, right? Going against your highest self and against your standards. So how many people in here find a way to pick themselves apart at least once every single day? Drop a 1 in the chat. You do that. Or you can raise your hand like Luke. That works too. Okay, raising hands works. Let's do that. Get a cool little bing. Okay, everyone pretty much tears themselves apart at least once a day. Perfect. Not perfect, but the perfect. Oh, Daniel, or so Anthony. The question was if you tear yourself apart at least once a day. In the mirror, talking to yourself, whatever. Negative self-talk. Probably yes. Allison. Ali said yes. Call you by your government name. Okay, so this is where we're gonna add on to Ash's call. Okay. Parents and mirrors. How many of you had parents show you what true unconditional love looked like, felt like, and sounded like? Drop a 1 in the chat if you know what that is like. Like if you have parents that were fully unconditionally giving you love and everything that you desired, and showed you what a healthy relationship looked like and everything. Or you can drop a 0 in the chat if that's the opposite. One after a lot of work. Okay, acceptable. That's a good answer. 0, solid. 0. Cool. So very many people, a lot of people understand what it feels to have on the opposite of unconditional love, conditional love. So how could you know how to love yourself if you were never shown? How many of us still blame our parents for not showing us love? Probably most of us. Subconsciously, right? For the relationships that you have, because your relationships that you have are just a reflection of how your parents showed you love. Without considering that their parents never knew how to love themselves either. Your grandparents. So you're in a generational cycle of feeling unloved because you never know, they never knew how to love themselves first. So you look outside of you for validation, for acceptance, for support, for motivation, for whatever you were missing back then, right? But you've always had it within you. So if we think about our call with Ash, you were all able to tap into your inner child and you gave them what they needed in that moment. That's the beginning of breaking generational cycles, like Emmanuel said. Right? Tapping in and understanding this work is just the beginning, because obviously your kids and their kids are going to be continuing, but you obviously want to leave less work for them, right? You're not going to be able to complete all of it, so it may seem overwhelming at the very beginning, and that's okay. But your goal is just to diminish the amount of work for the next generation, okay? Generational trauma. That's where it gets a little deep. All right, so my parents weren't always present. I didn't have a bad childhood, however, like at all. I was, pretty decent childhood. Yeah, I have most trauma like most Hispanic households do, but I didn't grow up without. So I had food, I had a roof, I had a bed. It was a good childhood, right? My parents worked hard and gave their all, like most Hispanics, ponte las pilas, and they just kind of do the work and they do the shit. So, but there were times parents would lash out. Anger, arguments, some 90s and 2000s correction, if you know, you know. So my mom would wake up every morning, mop in the hand, yelling, running across the house to get things ready for work and her routine. Her normal was chaos. Her normal was chaos. That's all she knew. Her normal was yelling, blaming, screaming, huffing, puffing, and just yelling at us kids, okay? Me and my sister. My mom never knew how to regulate her nervous system. She didn't even know what the fuck that means to this day. I'm trying to teach her. Anyway, she never knew how to stop yelling and being chaotic. I love you, Mom. Then that energy transferred to my dad. My dad absorbed that energy very, very intensely. She only knew how to keep order by showing her worth through spite, correction, anger, fear, and emotional energy, right? What this means is that her standards and her way of living and understanding love was keeping order. But keeping order for her was doing all these negative actions, behaviors, and feeling really high, really low, actually, low frequency energy. Okay. So where do you think she got this from? Hi, Grandma. So generational trauma. So what this leads us to believe is love is survival, right? Because if she's acting out of spite and fear, then she's acting out of fight or flight. And what is fight or flight? Survival mode. Immigrant families have a strong cultural expectations for women, especially, to be caretakers, disciplinarians, and the emotional regulators of the family. If grandma faced hardship, poverty, or strict parental roles, she might have learned to keep that in order, or to keep order of the whole house, right? Have had to be strict, loud, and resilient. She had to keep all the kids in line, making sure everyone was fed, and making sure that everyone listened. Otherwise, there would be chaos. So she had to raise her voice, always scream. She still does that to this day. It's a learned behavior. And that's how she understood this is love. This is how I show love. Love could have been expressed through discipline, control, because that's what kept the family in line and surviving, right? If you're surviving, quote unquote, that's chaos. Even though it's familiar, doesn't mean it's good. But chaos is her familiar, like Ash was saying yesterday. So that means love is surviving, question mark. That means love is fight or flight, unregulated, high stress, on edge. I put a fuck ton of question marks because that's not what it should be, right? You don't want it to be this. So this means my mom probably saw my grandma's worth being measured by how well she was maintaining the household, keeping the kids in check, fed everyone, and sometimes at the cost of my grandma's emotional well-being. Without learning healthy ways to regulate emotions or process stress, my mom, likely developed, well, actually your mom too. Your mom likely developed similar patterns, managing chaos by yelling, correcting, and holding tightly to a sense of control. This is how I managed to learn to handle my stress. I was impatient, always frustrated, snappy, on edge when things didn't go my way. That was my normal. This was my normal. And I would wonder why my relationships would always end up in a burst of emotional energy from me trying to control through yelling, through high stress, and even just trying to convince them of my self-worth, right? Like, I need this to be under control. This is how I'm showing love. And it was only through fight or flight. So wherever you're learning your love, you have to look a little deeper because it's most likely not you. But that doesn't mean that it's not your responsibility to change that. So this one has so within, so without. So if you don't rise above that pattern, that generational trauma, you will pass it on, right? Just like grandma. My inherited patterns in life started off really low. I was a drunk at 16. I was a womanizer. I was unregulated and snappy. I wanted to control everything. I was in pain when I couldn't control. And my life was simply a byproduct of the lack of control and self-hate I had for myself, right? Long cycles of depression and so on. But I didn't know that this wasn't normal, right? I just thought this is how everyone kind of lived. I felt like I was never enough, out of control, never in line, hated being under control, which is why I can't be in a 9-to-5 anymore. I realize that. So the point of this is you can't outperform the story that you have for yourself, the generational story that you have for yourself. It's a story, meaning you have the pen and you have the power to rewrite it. But it starts with you. You can either read the book or you can write it. So if your goal is to start changing the generational trauma, it starts with you here. So here's a quick little analogy. I'm packing bags. Have you ever lived out of a suitcase for 1 to 2 weeks or longer? Drop a 1 in the chat if you have. I have for sure. I know Allie has for sure. And Marissa, yes. Emmanuel, yes. Yes. Nah, really? Okay, Jeff. Cool. Yes. He says yes. Then yes. Solid. Most yeses. Cool. Luckily, no. Okay, so so Anthony and Jeff have not. But okay. Regardless, this still applies. Think a little hard about it. How does it feel? For some, it feels freeing, and for others, it feels like a cage and it's exhausting. You have no home, no place to unpack your bags, right? You're just living out of a suitcase. You have no place to commit to. I wonder how many of us are actually living our lives out of that suitcase right now, not committing to abundance, to your generational healing, to your goals, to your standards. Drop it in the chat if that resonates. You can drop a 1 in the chat too. A fire. That works too. Solid. A lot of little emojis. Okay. Not committing to the pursuit of your highest self is like living out of a suitcase. You can't commit to your health. You can't commit to your healing. You can't commit to your self-love. Not committing to anything other than your own suffering and self-hate, though. Because everyone will commit to their suffering and self-hate, right? Misery loves company. You'll commit to that for sure because you'll get company for it. How many of us will unpack the entire suitcase when it comes to the story of their own victimhood, though? Giving yourself the reasons why you can't do certain things or be certain things or think certain ways. You come up with reasons why it won't work. What if I fail? What if I'm the only person this doesn't work for? What if I try and I give it my all and I don't get what I want? So many fucking what ifs. But every time you say what if, you flip off your higher self because you think you know better than them, right? Like I said earlier, if you imagine the life that your highest version of yourself right now is living in some parallel reality and universe, they're probably not asking what if. They're embracing the process. They're embracing the thoughts. They're embracing the failure too. They're embracing the good and the bad. It's a yin and yin yang. So it's that what if worth your growth, your potential, your joy? You have to ask yourself, is this holding me back? Is it worth the mental capacity that it's holding? Is it holding me back in a way that gives me such distraction from actually doing the thing? Because the amount of time that you're probably thinking about doing the thing, you could have already done the thing and you would have been further along. So let's go back to standards because that was the very beginning of this. So it's coming full circle again, okay? Your posture changes when you uphold your standards, your boundaries, your growth, your priorities, your love for yourself. The highest level, like I said earlier, is the highest level of self-actualization is love. And self-actualization means that becoming the truest version of yourself and becoming who you're meant to be at your core, your authentic self, no matter what people think, what you think, all of that, your highest self, right? When you feel unregulated, anxious, afraid, unworthy, depressed, you're trying to earn your own love again, right? Like the generational trauma, but now it's with, instead of relationships or family, it's with yourself. You have to act out of chaos. You only know chaos. And you only know that if I feel anxious, this is what it feels like to feel loved. This is how my mom showed herself love. This is how my parents showed themselves love. This is where I learned it from. But you forget, love is not something we earn, it's something to be. I'll read it again. If you think that love is something you earn, it's wrong. It's something that you are. Everyone is full of love. And if you learn to embody that more often, and like even Ash said it earlier, if you stare at yourself in the mirror, I think Lisa did it last night, and you tell yourself you love yourself over and over and over and over again, your subconscious and the universe has no choice but to oblige. But it has to start with you. You have to speak it into existence. You have to raise your standard. Otherwise, it's just fucking, you're just stuck in your own fucking head, and that's a cage, and that's just rambling thoughts that are filled with hate. You must stop living under the circumstances of your generational trauma if you want to change. Because circumstances are just simply a story that you can rewrite. It is your responsibility to heal, to do the work, to break the cycles that have kept you stuck and create sustainable cycles. Cycles that go beyond abundance of love, joy, enlightenment, and peace. Sustainability looks different for everyone. Okay. Find that sustainability for you. Take steps. No one expects you to go off into the deep end of healing and like do shadow work and shit. But start. Right? It's not like you start your fitness journey deadlifting 400 pounds, 225, whatever. You start light. Same thing here. Mind is a muscle. Okay, so I threw in, that was supposed to come in at the end. Fuck it. All right. Awakening your highest self. You can look at this while I talk about it. Anyway. So we always have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of our highest self, our future potential and abundance, right? This wishy-washy behavior. This gives us the chance to shy away when shit gets hard and when things are fun, right? When shit gets hard, you're like, I'm not going to do this. And then when shit gets fun, you're like, oh, I love all this. Let me continue doing more of this. No. No. You're not committing. That's wishy-washy. You're not committing by stepping in and stepping out. To feel abundance isn't just fucking sunshines and rainbows and rainbows not pissing out of your nipples, but blowing out of your nipples. It's to feel abundance of the higher frequency emotions, all this stuff at the top, this ultimate consciousness, flow, peace, love, joy, reason, acceptance, all this, you have to unpack your fucking bags in the fire. Let me explain. The fire, in this analogy, I guess, is through the hard shit, right? When people want to step out, when it feels uncomfortable. Even though it feels uncomfortable, you have to commit. And this is why this whole thing is called commitment. That's abundance. Being able to stick to your standards in the fire and say, this is what I'm going to do no matter how hard it gets. The healing, the fitness, your goals, everything else in between, and everything else on the other side. It's both sides, right? Nobody's telling you this is easy. It's only hard because you have yet to develop the skills of tapping into your higher self. Most of you were able to do it yesterday. Congrats. Now it's doing that more often. It's a skill now. You have to build the skill or else you lose it. It's a skill issue, not a trait issue, not a trauma issue. Everyone can do this when you commit. The only thing you're selling yourself when you step out of the fire because it's hard is a lie. You're selling yourself a lie by telling yourself that this is not for you, or by not committing, or by being wishy-washy. So if you want to be on the higher end of this frequency chart, the courage, the pride, the neutrality, willingness, this is where I like to hang out. Neutrality. Why? I can choose wherever the fuck I want to go. And also it's in the middle of the whole chart. So if I come back down here, I understand that I'm starting to, the come down is basically not as hard, right? If you can hear it in my voice, I like to, on most of our calls or most of our one-on-ones, I like to talk neutral. I'm not overexcited. I'm not super low. You would be able to tell. The reason I'm neutral is because it's sustainable for me. So you need to find your sustainable. What's sustainable for you in terms of regulation? Is that breath work 3 times a week? Is that meditation 3 times a week? Is that going outside, touching some grass because you're inside all day? What does that look like for you? So that way, when you get hit by a bus and you start feeling like you're suffering and you're fear and guilty and shame, you know what it feels like and you can come back at least to neutral. Because hanging out up here, yes, it's beautiful and love and peace and it's amazing. And you get to experience it. And you can bounce here anytime. This is all abundance. But hanging out here is sustainable for most people because crashing down here is hard as fuck. Right? Imagine like when you're in a beautiful relationship and it's the first 3 weeks, first month of it, and it's all sunshine and rainbows, and you're feeling all love and like you were a 14-year-old again. And then you break up and it's and you get ghosted, and then you feel like this. That's what it's like. That's what you're teaching yourself. So teach yourself neutrality at least. Baby steps. Okay. Cool. Do the work. Like I said earlier, my motto, see, came full circle. Good job, Mike. So to whom much is given, much is earned. Much is required, sorry. Much is required. So if the universe, which is inherently abundant, right, like we said in the beginning, is going to give you a life full of health, love, a fit body, a healthy relationship, financial stability, and wealth, and all this stuff, right? All the things that you desire, all the things that your higher self has, all the things that your higher self already has and is. Why would the universe give that to you willingly without you having done what's required? Oops, I meant not having done, sorry. So put a not in there somewhere. Not having done what's required because you'd fumble it. Maybe you already have fumbled it. Then that means that you were tested with an opportunity and didn't pass. The universe is going to test you over and over again until you learn. Now, your life goal should be to build you in order to maintain that state you desire, right? If you fumbled it the first time, now you have to take it as a lesson, not a loss. That was my motto of 2023. Lessons, not losses, because I took a fuck ton of losses and I learned a fuck ton of lessons. Now it's experience and growth and guidance. So there's a reason why lotto winners go back broke. They only know how to live in scarcity, so they spend it all on their money. They spend all their money and they go back to the grind because that's all they know, right? They weren't taught. They don't know how to maintain that wealth, nor do they have the skills that were required to do so, right? To whom much is given, much is required. Same goes for your health, your relationships, your mental health, your friendships, your physique, your relationship with food, all of it. There's requirements. And there's levels to it, right? No one's asking you to be at the top of the requirement list, but you build up to it. Rented. Everything in life is rented. Once you have become the person that can maintain the desired outcome, that's not the end goal. Show goes on, baby. You have to understand that's just one iteration of you. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's version 1 of your highest self. There's several iterations, infinite. You have to think about what I keep saying about the parallel universe version of you. You've probably seen Spider-Verse or Spider-Man, all the multiverses. There's fucking 100,000 millions of you in different universes that are doing exactly the things that you're afraid to do. Because if you don't maintain those skills or keep working or stay consistent with it, you will lose it. Therefore, it's rented, right? So if you don't show your partner love or look after them, they leave you. If you don't stay consistently active, you get fat again. If you don't consistently try to learn, you'll become, oh, I meant unskillful. Shit. There's a lot of typos in here. I did this last minute. Okay, hold on. You'll become unskillful and dumb. If you don't practice good eating habits, you'll eat like shit again. If you don't work on your business, you'll lose it. If you don't show up to work, you're fired. What does this mean? If you can't earn a 10 out of 10, sorry, not if. It's just ignore the if. You can't earn a 10 out of 10 life with downhill habits. It doesn't fucking work. Obviously, my grammar is not a 10 out of 10, so we're going to work on that. So, but if you follow a list of successful ingredients, you're going to become the person you desire and more. But understand that there's several iterations of you, and every version of you is rented until you do what's required to become the next version. It's not just A to Z. It's A to Z and then, well, okay, let's rephrase that. It's not A to B. It's A to C or B to C and then C to D and so on, right? Several versions of you. You can't cheat it though. Let's bring it back, okay? So it's almost done. Committing to your goals means you need to be done with the bullshit and self-sabotage. So you can cheat in school, you can cheat in work, and you can cheat in relationships, but you can't cheat yourself anymore. This is the uncomfortable realization that made me realize why healing is so fucking important. You cannot cheat yourself. You cannot cheat life, no matter how hard you try. That's why people get so frustrated and they give up. All the people that got by with talent in high school and in college and cheated their way through, they're probably living a very comfortable and complacent life. And if that's the life that they desire, great. Some people are meant to be NPCs. That's cool. But if you're in this container, you're not meant to be an NPC. You're trying to level the fuck up. And this is why we do these presentations. You're the most difficult enemy you will ever face. If you can conquer yourself, you can conquer anything you set your mind on. If you can conquer self, you can build a lifestyle, a mindset, a reality that mirrors that of your higher self. So, how can a man go from being on edge all the fucking time? This is me, the man. Stressing, yelling, angry at everyone and everything. A man that didn't see a real future for himself 3 years ago. He only knew how to live life for the weekends and escape his reality. To a man that leads from the heart, full of self-love, serving to his absolute highest and creating a unique life. I wrote that because Ash told me that, and I was like, that hit hard yesterday, and I really appreciated it. So I was like, okay, I need to recognize that. Commitment. That's how. So this is why the entire presentation is all about commitment. Committing to you. Committing to everything that is required. So don't be a halfer. Abundance is only real if you commit to being abundant and sit in the fire of abundance. Abundance is a fire. It's not just fucking rainbows. You can't half-ass abundance. You can't step in and out of it. You can't be wishy-washy. That's called scarcity. What if this doesn't work? What if it's not for me? What if I'm a special unicorn that this will never work for? And when you embody that, guess what the universe gives you more of? Let's put it in the chat. You all should learn. You should know. Everyone put it in the chat. You should know what you're going to get more of. Training test. Not exactly. I'll give you a clue. It's on the slide. It's in there. It's right there. Or you can come off mute and say it. More of the same BS. Okay, fair. Abundance of what you became. Scarcity. Thank you, Emmanuel. There you said it. Scarcity. If you have mass abundance and it's called scarcity, and you embody that, you get more scarcity. And self-hate. Kind of the same thing. Right? That's half-ass self-love. Only loving yourself when things are great, but you hate yourself when everything is shit. That's not abundance. That's a lack of commitment. You can't be in and out of this shit. So, I'm going to give you some tangibles because we always leave these calls with tangibles. Take a screenshot of this. Wait until I get to the end, though. Okay, so exercise 1 is you're going to draw a line through the middle of a paper horizontally, right? You can do it landscape mode or portrait mode, whatever. Things above that line are the best personality traits that you have, your skills, your developments, your mindset practices, all that stuff. Other things you take a lot of pride in, okay? Things below the line, your worst mindset, self-sabotage, etc. I didn't, you get the deal. So do that. The next one, voice memo thoughts on your current cycle that you're in, where it came from, where it shows up, and how you can break it. Give yourself more of a solution-oriented mindset. Like, how can I start acting on this? Why do I act this way? Why am I like this? You can talk to yourself in the mirror. Ideally, voice memo is best. I like to talk myself through solutions all the fucking time. I was talking to Ash earlier. I was like, Ash, I need help. What do you think about this, and this? And then she validated my first thought. And I was like, okay, this is good. So I overthink things, and she helps me validate my first thought that I was going to go with anyway. Exercise 3. This is probably the easiest one if you want to do this. Write 5 things that is going to help you bring more self-love and commitment to do those things for 3 weeks minimum. That probably didn't make sense at the end. Hold on. You're going to write those 5 things down, and then you're going to commit to doing those things for 3 weeks minimum, basically. And this little chart on the right is something I made for someone. I put it in their Google Sheet, but I don't put it in everyone's Google Sheet. But if you want it, I'll give it to you because it's really easy. It's really easy to use. It's a yes or a no. Did you win the day on the right? Right. And you kind of put your 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 here, whatever. However many you want, however many you can stick to. Okay. These are just like basic hit macro targets, follow the program, steps above 10K, water, progress pics, sleep more. And it was either a yes or a no. And then you get a total adherence percentage at the far right. And you can do the dates. So this is a good way that helps me stay consistent with like dieting or big challenges that I have or big goals, things that I need to stick to, non-negotiables, right? Committing to these things. So if you want this, let me know. You can DM me in Discord and I'll send it to you. Yeah. But take a screenshot of this. Do whatever one you want. I'm going to keep you accountable to doing one of these things because this year is the year of your commitment. Okay. Cool. I think that's the end. Oh, well, you can make a checklist style of did I win the day? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So that's the end, right? That's the end. Cool. Cool. Did you guys like it? Was it good? Developments, thoughts. Come off mute if you want. Hope you guys liked it. Any questions? I'm probably going to have to like post it often or just talk to you guys about it because it needs reinforcing, obviously. Don't want it to be just in one ear, out the other. Thanks, Jeff. Solid. I'll post it, Anthony. Did you guys resonate with anything specifically? Anyone? What's up, Luke? You have to come on mute, my boy.
Definitely I resonate with the like seeing your parents and they're just imitating their parents and they're passing on like the generational trauma.
Yeah.
Um and then I'm like reflecting on it. I'm thinking about myself and I'm thinking, dang, I really do got some generational trauma. So it's some things I gotta work on to try to break them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely like thinking about like, okay, that's why they were like that. And like trying to avoid, um avoid doing that, to future me or me now.
Okay. How can you avoid it?
Well, first I need to identify what are the things that are the generational trauma,
Sure.
and then I gotta get rid of them. Um yeah.
Name one,
I, um
if you don't mind
Probably.
being beautiful.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I think my one is not having stability.
Okay.
That's something I definitely get from my specifically my mom. Um
Stability
b-
where?
Stability in anything in life. Like everything had to change 24/7. Like
Mm.
I never had like, well, until later in life when I moved in with my grandma and I didn't live with my mom anymore. But just like as a young person, like a kid, never having stability, never knowing where I was gonna sleep, never knowing what I was gonna eat. Like there was nothing stable about it. It always had to change 24/7. And so it's like now, like for instance, like where I live right now, I've lived here for 5 years and it's been bugging the hell out of me. I want to move so bad. Like I want to move countries. I want to move. I need to get out of here. Um,
Mhm.
for instance, jobs. Like I change jobs like every 2 years.
Mhm.
Like and I'm about to hit the 2 year anniversary of the job that I'm in now. I have an okay job. Like it's something that I get good benefits with, I guess. And I'm like, I don't care about it. Like, I'm like, finna apply for McDonald's.
Oh my god,
No
dude.
hate to anybody if you work at McDonald's. I love McDonald's. So and even like this, like being here right now in this call, like on some real stuff, I've been avoiding you. Like
Notice.
you messaged me today, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore that because I did not do my check-in. I have not been logging my food for the past like what 4 or 5 days, and I'm just thinking like, dang, like I'm really sabotaging myself. But it's things like that. It's like when I have something that's going good, it's like it's too stable. Like it's like I need to change it.
There you go.
Yeah,
So what would it look like for you to stick to something for the long term?
yeah. I need to go over these slides again. um. Yeah, I mean, I've identified that that's a problem, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I need to fight against it.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's very common, dude. I get it. I get shiny object syndrome all the time. Just like business ideas or like me wanting to go do something different with trading or my living situation too. So,
Yeah.
but understanding that the new thing that you want, you have to look at it as a distraction more than anything
Yeah.
and keep betting down on your current position. If it's a good one, right? If it's a safe one, if it's a stable thing, keep betting down on it and find ways for you to commit more to it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when I get shiny object syndrome for like business related things, sometimes I want to go do other things that are not coaching. That's real shit. Like I see all their entrepreneurs on Instagram and it's like, oh, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this too. So for me to double down on what I do, I serve more. I recently got into another program with another business coach and there was a fuck ton of money. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bet more on this. I'm going to give myself no choice. So you need to bet down more on your current position and give yourself more reasons to stay. Ali
Yeah.
said, uh, Ali left a paragraph. Generational behaviors is something that me and my family took years to work on, and we still check each other a bit when those types of things sneak up. My mom is always fight or flight and used to use fear and manipulation to keep us in line. My dad was always deployed, so he wasn't around, so really to really help with that kind of stuff. But once she hit the fan, we all started working on getting out of the cycle. It was so hard and it took so long, but it's so worth it now. Love it. That's beautiful. Hell yeah, Ali. You want to share any more on that? That's awesome. Proud of you. It's just,
I mean, it it just took a long time.
yeah.
It was like all growing up. My mom was always like kind of like what you said. She was always responsible for the care, and that's just what her mom was like. Her mom, my grandma, she is a scary, scary woman. And
Yeah.
my mom tried to be like that, and it didn't go well, especially with my sister. My sister would take that stuff really, really hard. And so it got to the point where it just shit blew up. Like it was just kind of like bubbling to the surface, and then it just went way overboard. And so we all kind of like got into therapy and started doing the work. And, you know, I was surprised that my mom even was willing to do that because she was a very proud woman, you know. She didn't like the idea of failure, but like that's just life. It's just all
Yeah.
about failing. And she
Mhm.
went and she's doing so much better. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like me and my family, we're all real close now. Even though I live kind of like a little bit far, I feel like our relationship has been, I don't know, so much better than what it used to be. And, you know, it truly feels more now unconditional love and support instead of what it was, which was very, very conditional to how we were, how we acted, how we looked, all of that. So,
Mm, okay.
yeah.
What kind of work helped you the most? Like therapy, or was it like what kind of healing did you work?
So, I went to therapy for a few years, pretty much since I was a junior in high school. Went to therapy. Um, and really just a lot of reflecting. I got into meditation a few years ago. I know I still struggle with like, body dysmorphia, stuff like that, but it really is just a lot of talking to yourself, giving yourself grace. And like something that I really resonated with yesterday was the idea of the inner child, because I go back to my day one a lot and thinking about like the inner child, like tying that into my day one, like going back to her and seeing how far we've come. Like I'm so, so incredibly proud.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just always that, like remembering to give yourself grace, journaling a lot. That has
Mm,
definitely helped me over the years, and just being able to like really be proud of who I am and everything that I've accomplished and been through, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
So obviously it took commitment, right? Sticking to the thing and sticking to the work, even though it felt uncomfortable and difficult.
I feel like that's okay though, to be uncomfortable, because when you get comfortable, it's like being stuck in that stagnant rut. I don't
Yep.
know. I feel like you
Complete.
shouldn't be comfortable all the time.
Exactly. That's complacency.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing well. I mean, obviously it's still, like I said, everything is rented. So as long as you're maintaining that work, meditation, and still like reflecting on your day one, giving your inner
Mhm.
child more appreciation and love, or your day one more appreciation and love, either way, it's going
Yeah.
to compound in the long run. So continue. Beautiful. Love that. Same thing with everything. It's just making sure that you guys stay consistent and double down on what feels right. Like if what you're doing is working and you know it works, double down on it. There's no need to change it. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Healing is healing for a reason. There's no shortcuts. I wish there were. So same thing with like the lotto example. People don't just fucking magically become go to one therapy session, become healed, and then it's like, okay, great. You will unlearn it very fast if you don't maintain it. So, but you have like a life to fuck up. You have a lifelong of failures, which is going to be okay. So don't zoom in so hard on your one failure. Understand there's going to be more, and that should give you some peace to understand that you're going to like learn a fuck ton anyway. So yeah, does that help, guys? Does that help, Luke? Anyone else have any cool reflections? Anthony, Dan, Marissa, Manuel, Jeff. What's mine? This entire slide, dude. What do you mean? My commitment is just doing breath work every day and making sure I'm regulating. Like I said on yesterday's call with Ash, like I have to regulate harder, ask for more bandwidth from universe God, create more capacity for me to be able to serve, be able to handle more responsibilities. Because like my whole motto this year is to whom much is given, much is required. So I just look at the things that are required for me to be where I want to be. And if I'm not meeting those requirements, then there's work to be done. That's it. Simple as that. And it's just kind of making it as binary as possible, but also like regulating hard as fuck along the way. Because otherwise you will get lost in the sauce and stress will burn you out really fast. So, yeah. I would say mine is to stop saying yes to everyone and everything if it kills my future goals and ambitions. That's good, dude. Hell yeah. Okay. So, better boundaries, basically. Good. Don't be a yes man. Anyone else? Dan, it seems like you're super busy or you're super thinking hard. I always think hard. Okay, great. Speak my truth, even if it means risking not being loved anymore. That's beautiful, dude. Hell yeah. That's authenticity. There you go. There you go. When you speak your truth, you're going to be more in alignment with, like I said, your highest self, because they know more than you. So it's being uncomfortable with that. Good. I love that. Yeah, acceptance is it's also a really hard one too. A lot of people struggle with is like they just say things or do things to feel accepted and to feel loved by others, even though it doesn't align with what they know that is their real truth. Jeff said, "Going with my first thought, don't overthink as much." It's good. Hell yeah. Okay. Good. Same here, dude. That was the dilemma I had earlier today, going through these slides. I was like, what should I talk on? And then I made it. I was like, okay. So, or stay quiet to be loved. Yeah, dude. But understand, being loved isn't always required. You know, it starts with you. It starts with you. Being loved by someone or something or by a circumstance is not required. What's required is you giving yourself the attention and that solitude that you deserve. Correct, because I'm going to love my inner child anyway. Doesn't matter what's the outside says does. There you go. Perfect. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Good, dude. Glad you got a lot out of these 2 calls because you were on both. So I'm glad that you came to both. Oh, Luke is back. Cool, guys. Good reflections. If you guys have any more reflections, remember, I'm going to post this fucking screenshot in Discord for the exercises. I'm going to hold you all accountable on our next call. You let me know which one you choose. And let me know if you want the thingamajog, the accountability checklist, I'll call it, for choosing those 5 things that are going to help you do more self-love. You can do it like I've seen people do it on like basically paper and pen, or you can create it on a what's it, not a chalkboard, a whiteboard. There we go. Or you can do it on your fridge, however you want to create the checklist. If you're more of a pen and paper person, you can do that. I like Excel because it's really simple. Gives me more. I like math. There's other ways to do it. I don't know how else. You guys come up with anything, let me know. But the checklist is probably going to be your easiest, most consistent thing. I like voice memos too. So that way you can kind of talk to yourself. So, yeah. Good call, guys. All right. I'll see you all in the chat. Let me know if you need anything, okay? Love you all. Thanks for coming. Bye.